Good morning, everyone. I'm Deputy Mayor Joan Stover. I'm standing in or sitting in, however you want to say it, for Mayor Lobo, who's not in attendance today. Today with us, we have Councillor Ainsworth, Councillor O'Neill, Councillor Booth, Madam Clerk, and we have our Chief Administration Officer, Dave Dawson, our planner, Tracy, and we have our contingent from the county. I understand this is your public meeting to do with the subdivision in Grafton. Thank you for everyone that's taken the time to come this way. We're in Roseneath because we have air conditioning here, which is really great. So I will call the meeting to order. I'll start today with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alma-Coldeman is located on the Mississauga-Anishinaabe territory and is a traditional territory of the Mississauga-Anishinaabe. The township of Alma-Coldeman respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'd like to move on to the approval of the agenda. The motion in front of us today is the agenda for the Committee of the Whole meeting held on July 15th, 2025 be approved. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. All in favor?
Chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to bring up a couple things here before we approve the agenda. One thing, I don't know if we're under time constraints for the public meeting, and can we have a public meeting at night? And for some of the residents that obviously can't make it here at 9:30 in the morning. I guess if there's anybody can tell me that we're under that time constraint, or anything else that could be going on with it being the county meeting versus the township meeting.
So you're looking for maybe a list of the next steps?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay.
And I guess the lay of the land, how this is going to be run for the residents out of her and maybe outline also.
Okay, thank you. Madam Planner, would you be able to provide that information?
Through the Deputy Mayor. The notice did contain details as to contact information. So if there are people who were unable to attend, we did receive some submissions from those individuals, and I have a summary of the submissions that we received. This meeting is not a statutory requirement under the Planning Act. It's in addition over and above what was required. There was a public meeting when the application first came out, and I have a summary of the original submissions as well that I can provide. People are welcome to continue to submit submissions up until a decision is rendered. I would expect that the review will be completed shortly. So if people have additional submissions that they want considered, I would suggest that they send those in. Subdivisions are with the approval authority is with the county. So it is one of the responsibilities under the Planning Act for submissions to be addressed. So I would expect that in the final report for approval, it will outline the submissions and how each concern was addressed through technical reports and details. So I hope that helps answer some questions. I also will do a report with our proposed draft conditions for the county to incorporate in ultimate approvals. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just one more follow-up. Because of the impact this might have on the town of Grafton, I just wonder if we could, kind of look outside the box at information and education for the residents and getting feedback. Be my concern.
Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. Madam Clerk has mentioned that comments like that could be incorporated into the public meeting part of it. So you'll have a chance
Okay.
in that part of the meeting to put those concerns forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we did have that carried, not quite carried for the agenda. All in favor? Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. I have declared a pecuniary interest to do with this subdivision agreement that is on section 5.2. The reason for my pecuniary interest is that my close proximity of my residence is right there. So that would be my reason for declaring. Thank you. Because I am declaring a pecuniary interest and I will be stepping away from the table, at this time, I will ask I'll ask Madam if you would be able to take us through the next steps, and we'll have to appoint another chair just while this part of the meeting is being taken place. So I will put it over to you to bring us through this. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yes, it's just a simple matter of procedure. So in the absence of the mayor, the deputy mayor chairs the meeting. However, the deputy mayor has declared a pecuniary interest, so would be removed from that conversation for agenda item 5.2. So at this point, we just need a member of council to be appointed to chair that portion of the meeting. So the motion would be just as it's written there. In that, we need a motion from the floor that Councillor whomever be appointed to chair item 5.2 of this portion of the meeting.
Okay. So we need a motion for one of you three to step forward and chair this part of the meeting. Councillor Booth,
I'd make a motion that Mary Catherine O'Neill be the chair for that portion.
do we have any other people that would like to do that, or let's stand? Thank you. Come on up. Oh, we're gonna have a seconder for that. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? One isn't done yet. So council so the motion for in front of us today is that Councillor O'Neill be appointed chair for item 5.2 for the public information meeting for the new Danforth subdivision on July 15th, 2025 for the committee of the whole meeting. All in favor? Carried. Come on up. Oh, no. Oh. I'll bring you over into that and then you'll be able to sit down. So we'll move into 5.1, and this is into the public meeting portion. That the committee of the whole move into a public meeting under the Planning Acts section on the section number on there. Dated July 15th, 2025, and the time I have is at 9:40 a.m. Can I have a mover, please, for that? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Need a seconder. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? That will be carried. Now you can come up, Councillor O'Neill.
Okay, so thank you for your patience with that. And at this point, I'll turn our meeting over to our planner, Tracy, who will lead us through this presentation.
Good morning, through the chair. This is a public information meeting for the new Danforth subdivision located within concession A, part lot 21, within the hamlet of Grafton. A little bit of background, the subdivision application was filed in April of 2023 and had proposed 65 single detached lots or single detached homes, 2 stormwater management facilities, a block for environmental protection that follows a water course, a park block, and public roads. Multiple technical studies were provided and plans, including the draft plan of subdivision, a planning justification report, functional servicing report, preliminary stormwater management report, traffic impact study, hydrogeological assessment, geotechnical investigation, water level monitoring report, environmental impact study, a meander belt width assessment, and archaeological assessment. A second submission was received in June of 2024, followed by a third submission in May of 2025. The submissions were updated to address comments from departments and agencies and peer reviewers. The following items have been addressed through the submissions, including the delineation of the top of bank and inclusion of wetland setbacks and erosion hazard limit, shifting of the intersection into the subdivision from Old Danforth Road to the east and reconfiguring the lot fabric accordingly, adjustments to the stormwater management block to accommodate a development from future development of adjacent lands to the east that have been requested to be added into the settlement boundary, removal of Street A and the inclusion of a 5-meter easement for the water line connection from County Road 2, the addition of 1 lot and some drainage easements. In terms of next steps, there will be finalization of the technical review of the third submission by staff and peer reviewers. And a recommendation will be provided to council that will include proposed draft conditions to be forwarded to the county. That will be done once the technical review is completed. A staff report will summarize the public feedback, findings from the technical review, and provide conditions of draft approval as noted that will be forwarded to Northumberland County, which is the approval authority. The agenda does include the plan from submission 1 and the plan from submission 3, so you can see visually the differences between the two. In terms of public submissions, as noted earlier, those who were unable to attend had the opportunity to provide written submissions through email, and a number of, I believe 3 people have provided comments, and I can go through a short summary of what we've heard. One submitter noted that they've lived in Grafton for over 16 years and noticed in the last year and a half a difference in their available water to their house through their drilled well. They're concerned with the aquifer's ability for groundwater and concerned that it will be further depleted. There was a concern with having 1 entrance exit for the subdivisions with the 66 homes, noting that they expect that would be doubled to 132 cars and expecting people to be leaving at 9 a.m. and having children dropped off and picked up from school. There's concerns with traffic on Old Danforth Road between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. The addition of construction traffic with the development and the traffic impacting their charming street and impacts on safety for and convenience of the residents who live there now. Concerns were also noted with the intersection of Old Danforth Road and County Road 2 being busy every morning. Concern that Lyle can't handle the additional load, and the north entrance the north end entrance will ensure people without, or I guess they're speaking to the previous north entrance onto County Road 2, would have provided the opportunity for people without children to leave the area instead of facing the congested south end exit entry, and asked about what would happen in the event of an emergency and expressed that they would like two access points. One resident requested a copy of the traffic study, which was provided by county staff. They asked that it be summarized, and there was an ask that Benlock Road be posted at 40 kilometers per hour instead of 80 to regard the campground and newcomer traffic that is expected. They asked where the 3 roads would be going in the future at the very east end of the subdivision, and question whether there's a future plan proposed. There was also note from another resident about excessive noise caused by trains and asked if there would be a noise study done. They had contacted a noise consultant and was suggested that one should be done. In the previous public submissions from the first phase, there were similar concerns regarding traffic. I believe it's likely the same submitter about the rail noise. There were concerns again about traffic, questions about the storm pond and where will the water go. There were questions about lowering speed limits, and someone did want exclusive access to Old Danforth Road and not County Road 2. There was a request to extend the 50-kilometer-per-hour zone past Shelter Valley Road. There were questions about whether the municipal water system could handle the new subdivision. Questions about installation of the second entrance. There was a question about the percentage of trees removed. Again, more discussion on the speeds of County Road 2. And what measures will be in place for walking on County Road 2. There was a request that the streets be named after the existing farm family. And again, more impacts, concerns about traffic impacts and pedestrian safety. In terms of the ask for the summary of the traffic study, I can provide a short description of the traffic study, which has been peer reviewed, and the comments will be provided once internal staff complete our review. The traffic study indicates that the development is expected to generate 54 trips in the AM peak period, which is between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the morning, and 71 trips in the PM, which is 3 to 4 peak period, which aligns with school start and end times. The existing road network is sufficient to accommodate the additional trips through 2033 planning horizon. The County Road 2, County Road 23 and Lyle Street South intersection is anticipated to operate with poor southbound levels under background conditions without the additional traffic from the development, with long delays approaching capacity in 2038. Improvements at that intersection have been evaluated, and it's recommended that the county monitor this intersection and reassess based on actual traffic levels experienced in the future. It's noted that the intersection operates with acceptable levels of service through the 2033 horizon and with and without the new development. Increased background traffic in the 2038 planning horizon triggers the need for intersection modifications. Thank you. And I just ask if members of the public do come up to speak, if they can clearly provide their name and address to assist the clerk with the meeting minutes, it would be appreciated. Thank you.
Madam Planner, do you know whether or not the representatives who are here from the county have further information they'd like to provide at this time?
Thank you. Through the chair, the county staff and a representative of the applicant are here and present to answer questions should they arise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, then we will open the floor, and thank you to the public, members of public who are here. It's always good to hear your perspective on the issues. So if you'd like to speak, please feel free, one at a time, to come up and use the chair.
Hi, my name is Simon Schneiderman. I live at 116 Old Danforth Road. And I received yesterday evening a report of the traffic study that was done in 2025. And one of the questions that I have is, was there a report that was done, a traffic assessment done, weighing the removal of the north-south roadway before the decision was made to remove it by the applicant? And the reason I ask that is the north-south roadway contemplated an exit onto Highway 2 in the northern portion of the development. For the removal of that roadway, which is weighed in the report of 2025, will generate the traffic from the development in the southerly exit, increasing the burden on Old Danforth Road and Purdy Road, which will consequently increase the price to the municipality to the improvement of that road because there will be more traffic on the surface. And so, and we will now have the risk involved in that removal of the northerly exit to Highway 2 is increased traffic on Purdy and Old Danforth, plus the traffic that will be generated by the new Hamlet development, which is the 11 homes that are going in 2026 Old Danforth Road. And has anybody done an assessment weighing the wisdom of removing that northerly exit? The 25 report treats it as a fait accompli, but doesn't consider whether one should retain that northerly exit because the weight of the traffic impact isn't measured. And so I haven't seen one, and I don't know if one exists.
All right. Mr. Yearwood, perhaps you'd like to use my seat over here and then you'd be able to answer that question.
Thank you. Actually, maybe, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. The other thing maybe why I figured, I don't know if anybody's actually may have received the actual plan, but I just thought maybe we can probably pass this around just in the event, because you do hear a lot of, I guess, stuff happening and things of that nature, but just actually see it firsthand. So it might be a little bit of ruffling with papers, but I just thought to at least and pass that around. So at least you see that and also have some questions or anything of that nature. So I'll just leave that in the interim.
And once again, thank you very much, Madam Deputy Mayor. And the answer through you, and the answer to the question is that the removal of the street A, the north-south road, that was at the requirements of our County Public Works. Our County Public Works Department, when they analyzed the actual intersection at Street A, it was due to unsafe conditions. So the unsafe conditions were that there was significant grades leading from County Road 2 down to, I believe at the time it was probably called Street B. So the slopes were just they're just too steep. And as a result of that as well too, there was also sightline issues. So I believe, I can't remember the exact number, but I guess between intersections, there was certain, like say, spacing requirements. And this development did not meet that. So it was really for more unsafe situations, and especially due to the grades.
But the dilemma that the residents of Grafton have now is the 2023 application and the 2023 traffic study accepted as necessary the north-south roadway for as a means of giving the residents of the new Danforth development the opportunity of exiting the property from two directions. What hasn't been done is, and having heard Mr. Yearwood, what hasn't been done is that the weight of considering the alternative to removing the north roadway and making that exit safer compared to the cost of generating the traffic southerly from the new Danforth development hasn't been measured. And so what I'd like to see is the cost and the traffic impact of the removal of that road surface and the impact that it will have on Grafton being actually measured so we can see what the cost will be to the municipality. Who's going to be responsible for improving the road surface?
And through Madam Deputy Mayor, that is something that we can consider. We can take a look into in terms of I guess it'd be kind of more like a feasibility analysis, if I'm not mistaken, something along those lines.
Right, and measuring the safety issues, because of course we've got the school on adjacent to that area in the development that will be facing more traffic as a result of the southerly exit from the new Danforth development. So the safety is a concern as well as the cost. And the wear and tear and the construction traffic that would be generated on the homes in Grafton adjacent to the development in the new Danforth project. So is that going to be measured as well?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, that's where we do have peer reviewers, peer review consultants that would look into that. And I believe that if I'm not mistaken, that since these are roads that are, I guess, that are owned under the townships. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that there is a peer review consultant that would look into the overall, I guess, the traffic generations of that area, of that community, and that would be all taken into account.
But we're told that the staff is going to be issuing a final decision to council. Will they be issuing that final decision without getting the input of that study that you're describing?
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, that's why that's also one of the main reasons also we're having this not pre-consultation, this meeting here is just to at least garner I guess residents and public feedback before we actually make a decision. So we just want to hear what the residents have to say, any additional comments before we come back with a final decision as a result.
And generate the studies requiring the information to be provided.
Through you, Madam Deputy Mayor, that's correct. We do have, as mentioned, we do have a traffic impact study that looks at it from a technical standpoint. And then that's where, say, as a result of that, we call it TIS, the acronym, that will then be reviewed by the peer review consultant, and say any impacts on the county roads, that's where we would get involved as well too, to look at it from that side, just to ensure that that the study, that there will be no say safety concerns, but we do rely upon the experts, the engineers to
So do I have your commitment that there will be a study generated to assess the safety from the exit on this southerly portion of the new Danforth project?
So through Madam Deputy Mayor, I believe.
Through the chair, just to help Ashley out, the the traffic impact study was based on the layout of the subdivision today, and it has been through peer review. We can take some of these questions back to our peer review consultant for clarification through the final report that we write. There wouldn't be a need to do a further study, as one has been done based on the proposal.
It doesn't, the study that was generated in 25 considers the impact on the traffic, but doesn't address the safety issues from the increased traffic from the new Hamlet development and the new Danforth project.
Through the chair, the traffic study that was provided as an update is based on the current submission, so it would factor in the functionality and safety of the proposed development.
Has that traffic study been distributed to the community? I received it
Yeah.
yesterday evening for the first time.
It is available to anybody who would like to request it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schneider. Appreciate your comments. And just before we continue, the deputy mayor is actually sitting back there, and I'm just the chair for now,
Oh,
so councillor.
You know.
No worries, no worries.
I'm looking at the name tag and.
Don't worry.
Good morning, I'm Suzanne Elston. I'm a relatively new resident of Grafton, and I love it here. I live on Clitheroe Road, and I have a series of questions, some of them related to traffic. I guess I'll address those first. So my street empties out onto Highway 2, and I'm wondering if there's been any studies done that look at the traffic impacts on the 401. Because if there's ever a backup on the 401, it can take me 10 minutes to get out of my driveway. And this is a big issue. We're looking at the traffic study in isolation of this proposed development and the existing municipality. But there's a huge impact on increasing traffic on the 401. We all know, I call it construction alley between Lyle and Coleman. There's always accidents. There's always backups. And the impact that has on the residents right now is significant. The other question that I have is, has this traffic study been harmonized with, I'm assuming there were traffic studies done on the development north of Lyle, just south of the 401 on the west side. That's under construction right now, and that's going to have significant impact on Lyle, both coming and going. And that, like, when I drive by there, every time I look at it and I go, geez, I wonder what's going to happen when these houses are built. When you combine the two, you're creating a massive bottleneck for Lyle and Highway 2, and that's going to have massive implications, even without potential accidents, backups, construction on the 401. So as someone who's moved here because she loves this quiet community, I anticipate massive problems with traffic and backup and massive impacts on the existing residents. So that's my first question, and I'd really like to know if there's been a larger study done. My second question is, at the very first public meeting when I first moved here, I raised the issue of development charges. And at that point, I wanted some reassurance from council that in order to entice development, and I know it improves our tax base here, were there going to be any considerations on waiving the DCs for this development? And if so, where was the burden of the infrastructure going to be picked up? Will that be on the backs of the existing taxpayers? And that was my initial comment 2 years ago, and it has never been addressed. I've never seen anybody comment on it or any of the, so that's a big one, because as we know, the province has now given municipalities the right to waive DCs to build those houses that we need. And quite frankly, these, shall I say, luxury homes that are being built aren't exactly addressing the province's need for affordable housing. So I would like a direct answer from council with respect to development charges and some assurances that the taxpayers that are currently here will not be bearing the burden of the infrastructure of not only this development, but the one on Miles Street. My third question, if you've been watching the news lately, there's significant, how can I put this, impacts on the construction at the former GM headquarters, which is now being repurposed for Ontario Hydro. We talked about archaeological studies. I want to know if the First Nations people have been involved in those archaeological studies and they have cleared it. Because if, for those who haven't seen it, they were clearing a parking lot and they found human remains. So these are three big questions, and I think they go out of the scope of the immediate project, but I think they're questions that need to be answered for the residents now and going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to address me?
Through you, Madam Chair, make sure I get that right now. Through you, Madam Chair. With the first one, I know typically, and you're correct, typically with traffic impact studies, they look at kind of more sort of focus on the immediate area. So, and which would also include, like, say, the school, like, say, any sort of impacts, say, in this case, predominantly maybe south of Highway 2 for any of those roads. So, because the traffic can just distribute, they can go anywhere, they can go up Lyle to the 401, which, I mean, like, say, not being an engineer, probably most likely people are going to try and get to 401, or they may travel along County Road 2. So typically with transportation studies is that they do focus on a more general area and maybe not so much at a larger scope. I know some of the concerns is what there was for one, the emergency detour routes, the EDR route. That would be, I would say that scope would be more kind of at kind of the provincial level, kind of the county and the township. So it'll be a much larger study beyond the actual development itself in terms of how that would all kind of pan out in the event if there was an accident, like say I guess traffic onto Lyle and throughout.
If I can correct, it's not if, it's when.
When?
And I understand that you represent the development, but we're at council and I'm asking council for these things because it may be outside of the scope of what you need to provide for this study.
Thank
So
you. Oh, thank you. And the second question, I think, which was regarding DCs, I'll take a little bit of a stab at that. There's been recent legislation to your point that actually it doesn't eliminate it, but it does defer them to occupancy. So typically with building permits, is that before you get a building permit, and then that's when DCs would be paid. However, I think that it was Bill 19, so a few weeks ago, that has now been deferred or postponed till when occupancy is granted for a building. So it's not really necessarily eliminating DCs, but just kind of deferring when they do get paid.
So it will be paid by the developer.
That's correct, to my understanding. That's
Okay.
correct. And the third question regarding Alderville First Nations, this application has been forwarded over to them. So, and this is currently being under review with Alderville so that they are aware of the subdivision and of the archaeological work that's been done. Just to let everyone know that right now we're at a stage 4, so archaeological, report that's required, and that's something that the proponent developer is aware of, and also Alderville is also aware of, and we've all been working together in terms of making sure we get that information that they're also engaged in the program.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And just for clarification, Mr. Yearwood is from the county, so he's the county planner.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
That's good. I didn't know. Do we have a building inspector? Your name, please.
Pardon?
We need your name.
Oh, Amy Quinn. I live on Old Danforth Road. Excuse me, I grew up north of Grafton. But moved back to the village in 2008. And even then, I noticed how quickly cars drove on Danforth Road South and thought about speed bumps and everything else along with my neighbors. But now I'm concerned about the weight of the trucks. Because we had, when you were building the second subdivision south of the school, a lot of the trucks were diverted down Brimley Road. But now we're not going to do that. We're not going to be able to do that because they're going to have to come down Old Danforth Road. And I know I've got 2 brothers in the construction industry. One's an engineer who's been building roads all his life. And he said, they won't, and you won't be able to, are you going to put in a base so that it can handle the traffic?
Who's gonna pay for it?
Well, that's it. Who's going to pay for it? And the development fees. So those, when they get charged, when the houses get sold, does that pass on to the homeowner, or is that the developer? Is he going to pass that on to the homeowner? But I am concerned about the roads, the wear and tear on the roads, the number of cars on the road with the schools there. That is potentially 500 cars in the morning, 500 again at night, coming and going. And then they do it twice because they do it once to go to work. Some of them go to work and then the other half has to take the kids to school and then they go to work. And we need that other entrance. And if we have to, you put in a stop sign. And now I got back on an email when I sent an email in about the slope of the hill not being able to accommodate an entrance. Well, that's baloney because I got a brother who's an engineer and I sent him the topographical map. And I was thinking, Hindman County is nothing but drumlins, nothing but hills. And I drive down a lot of steep hills and have all my life here. So I know that you can, and I know because my brother's an engineer, he said they can deal with that. So, as far as the entrance, as far as like coming out, you put a traffic light up. which wouldn't be a bad thing considering it took me half an hour the other day to get out of the old Danforth Road. And that happens every weekend now. And I know the province is putting in a third lane on the 401, which is gonna start in a few years maybe, but that's just gonna bring more cars. We aren't doing anything about rapid transit. And I have another question. Do we have a building inspector now for the county now for Haldeman, that is a qualified building inspector?
Yes.
Is our town hall open?
Um,
I want to know that because our rink isn't open. These are all things that, where are we going to get the money for all of this? Where are we going to get, all of this costs us money. The subdivision is going to cost us money. Are you making money on this? I don't know. But we have costs and we're not keeping up with our roads, our buildings. And where's that money going to come from? The province is not giving out anymore. We've lost things in healthcare, education.
okay.
This
thank
is going to
you.
be expensive.
Thank you very much for your question.
Okay,
There's
I know.
definitely some interesting ones raised. Okay, are there any other members of the public here who would like to speak to us?
Sure, why not? So. Lynn Caswell, 219 Old Danforth Road. So I'm directly across from the proposed Hamlet Estate access point on Old Danforth Road. And although I don't like the concept of this driveway in and out, I realize I live in a settlement and I have to put the big girl pants on and just accept certain things. So I objected to what I objected to in the previous meeting on the separate subdivision, mainly because some of the flawed concepts by whoever was planning it. I just thought 11 cars, 11 homes is absurd in this era, and I mentioned that then. So if you fast forward to this new proposal, 66 homes up from 65, times 2 at least. I mean, I've got neighbors that have more cars than that. So that's about 150 cars coming and going whenever. So to have them both come onto Old Danforth Road just sounds absurd. And I get it that the Hamlet, smaller subdivision, is kind of not proceeding on a similar timeline. But I did sort of sift through the traffic report last night as best I could at 10:30. And I got some ideas about, the bottom line was, and I shall read it. Upgrades, where are we here? Line of sight are sufficient to provide safe access to and from the north site access to County Road 2, provided the posted 50-kilometer-per-hour zone is extended further east as recommended. So the comment from this peer review was additional analysis required to support speed reduction. There is insufficient sight distance under current posted speed limit, which is 80, I believe, on County Road 2 at the proposed site success, or maybe it's 68. Whatever it is, it's not 50, I guess. But as Amy mentioned before, the idea of a traffic light probably would really solve a lot of issues. And that's not without precedent in the county. Between Port Hope and Cobourg, there's a subdivision there that has a traffic light. So, my other concerns are, in the meantime, there's no sidewalks on Old Danforth Road. And there's distractions that humans inside and outside of cars have are just astronomical. The safety of the people on the roads currently are very questionable, especially at when school lets out. It's very problematic up at the top of the hill, the Catholic school. People are parking every which way, picking up their kids. And I get it. You want to pick up your kids with the sorry state of the sidewalks. But also I'm noticing people don't seem to know which side of the road to walk on, facing traffic and adults and smaller human beings alike. So I think I've jabbered on plenty. But the gist of it is, the idea of having one access point, even though it's across from my house, boo-hoo, on Old Danforth Road is not that disturbing to me. But to have two on a road of this nature is absurd. And to remove it from County Road 2, which it just seemed A-okay by me to split the pain, not have it all in a small little road and on a township paid for road rather than a county road. So, end of jabber.
I just feel like I have to have my 2 cents worth. I'm at Louise Lippman at 116 Old Danforth Road. And I live with Simon Schneiderman. And when we were looking at the new proposed map, we took a drive, actually before we received it, because we only received it, as Lynn said, late last night. So the original, we were driving along and Simon looked at it and imagined one road as the revised map shows. And he said, well, there's no way that this could be correct because it would be landlocked, basically. If there were something wrong with the road, there is no other exit. And, what if, or emergency? And in fact, when we got the map last night, we were looking at it. In fact, that was the case. It would be basically landlocked with this one road. And I think agreeing with Amy and Lynn and the idea that a stop sign, slower speed limits, traffic light, further studies would be needed before any decisions were made. Because safety, I think, is tantamount in this case and in fact, there are two schools. There's a little nursery school at the library, as well as the school at the church.
I just have one more thing. Okay.
Sorry, I believe there was someone sitting behind you who would like an opportunity.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Good morning. I'm May Nardi. I live on 264 Old Danforth Road. I agree with what the other speakers have mentioned about traffic safety and all that. And just one point, the intersection of St. Andrews, Station Road, and Old Danforth Road, that sometimes is a mess. There is an early on program in the library, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we have toddlers, babies, and kids. There's no parking in the library for more than, 10 cars maybe. And the moms have to park on the street. They're taking the babies and the toddlers from the street into the library. So the traffic issue there, I just want to mention that. And I also, support what the other speakers have said about the traffic, the development charges. Like our taxes have gone up every year, about $400. We're new to the hamlet. We've been here 10 years, and every year our taxes have gone up. So with the cost of the charges, the infrastructure and everything, are we going to be paying more? So, and also, perhaps we can do some more study before any decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you.
No. I'd like to just mention.
I'll just check with the other, 1 second.
Okay.
Just check with the other members of council. You're both happy with Amy coming back? Okay, sure. Come on up, back up.
I'm sorry. I just. There's 66 homes, but is there gonna be a playground in there for kids? It's like that lot that's an environmentally concerned, that can't be a playground, right? But you're having all these homes, and I'm not saying a ball park, because we got that. but a place where, you know, your kids can go, oh, they're at the playground, whatever the playground is nowadays for kids. You know, with little structures for them or whatever, I don't know. But we're putting in all these homes, and that's putting a lot of pressure on, I don't know how big these lots are gonna be or anything like that, because I know that they're fairly large at Stallwood and on St. George's, but I imagine these are going to be smaller.
Single family,
Yeah, but no, but they're gonna have a smaller yard. There needs to be something. Like,
Yes, I'm going to step in a little bit here. They are on a smaller footprint.
yeah, so
Each
there,
of the
I
lots.
figured that, so.
But I'll just, I'm not sure who the question would be directed to, whether the developer
Well,
or
it's just,
to
it's,
our
I just.
planner, but you just wanted
I
on the
don't need an
record.
answer now. I don't need
Excellent.
an,
Okay.
I don't need an answer to anything now. I'm just telling you my concerns.
Okay, great,
Okay.
thank you.
Can I just add one more point to what we've heard?
Oh, you'll have to come up, please.
One of the questions that was raised by the speaker, who was concerned about the development charges was harmonization of the studies. I haven't heard any word indicated that these studies will be harmonized for all the development of the Grafton area. Without harmonization, we're looking at a disaster because we're looking at each project independently and its impact independently. And there will be manifest problems of safety and road traffic unless we harmonize all the development projects. And so I don't know if there's a plan to harmonize. But that was raised by one of the questioners and that wasn't addressed in the answers that we heard from the planning division.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. And that will actually be coming up later in the meeting, but any other people in the audience here who would like to bring forward any questions or concerns? Okay, so we have a number of people online who may also be interested in bringing forward questions and concerns. So if you could raise your hand, we'd love to hear from you.
Hello?
Mr. McNamara, you have the floor.
Hi, can you hear me there?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you very much. I live at 10979 County Road 2, directly west of what was previously proposed as the north entrance. My concern, and I'm quite pleased with the removal of the north entrance, although I do agree that there should be potentially a second access point at some point in time to the subdivision. The increased traffic, as was mentioned by the person that lives on Clitheroe Row, is fairly out of control at times. It is very difficult for me to get out of my driveway most of the time on the weekends, especially if there's a 401 closure. This happens year round due to the weather conditions on the 401 as well. I myself commute, but I know I see a number of emergency services vehicles up and down County Road 2, as it is a main artery in and out of other areas of the county. The slope that, or the elevation that starts at County Road 2 and reduces as you get into the proposed subdivision is steep. I do have blind spots coming off of my own driveway, let alone, you know, a stop sign 50 or 60 feet east of where I am, or even a set of lights that would further congest traffic along County Road 2 and prevent me from getting out of my driveway with a lineup of cars. My concern also is the impact on if we increase traffic on there, what emergency services vehicles might look like in the case of an emergency. And for those that have lived in the town for a while, we all know that there's been some not so great collisions at Benlock Road, including fatalities, so on and so forth, cars in ditches, that type of thing. Yeah, so my concern would just be around if they're going to do a traffic study that might consider a second entrance, as much as everybody that lives on Old Danforth Road is not happy with the way that the traffic flow is going to go there. I don't feel that the solution is to have an entrance on County Road 2 as well. My other concern would be the properties that are going to be directly behind or directly south of the properties that are already on County Road 2. There is quite an elevation there, which appears on the drawing or on the map to be part of their backyards. Will there be any kind of reduction in foliage or elevation there to flatten those properties out? I do feel that that's probably pretty important for water drainage. My backyard has got a very steep hill in it, and we do have quite a bit of landscaping on our property. I would hate to think that the vibration from earth removal at the property directly behind us would cause any damage to my property or anybody else's around if they tried to flatten it out for a roadway or for the backyards of the homes that'll be directly south of ours. Has there been any study done on what ground vibration or earth removal might look like for that, and also what drainage may look like?
Mr. Yearwood would like to address some of your points.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. There is a geotechnical analysis study that has been submitted, which the proponent, the applicant, has provided, which that's currently right now under review to determine what, if any, sort of changes will be required to any sort of grades. I mean, typically we like to try and keep it as natural as possible. But the study will look at the slope conditions and things of that nature, pretty much for the entire development. And I should also say that I should have mentioned earlier on regarding any sort of questions or comments along County Road 2. Those matters could be addressed to our department. However, I could be used as a contact where if anyone wanted to email any of those concerns affecting any county roads, please feel free to email them to myself, which I can provide my information. Actually, it's also on the notice as well too, and then I can forward that over to our Public Works Division.
Okay, thank you. Any final points, Mr. McNamara?
Yeah, just I really appreciate the fact that the town was willing to reduce the speed limit through the area of County Road 2. It's now reduced to 60 just right in front of my property. My concern has always been that I've got young children that like to play out front, and on occasion the ball may roll down the driveway and across the street and that type of thing. I will say that there are still a number of vehicles that do not respect the change nor respect the speed limit at all. There are several vehicles that I like to consider broken lawnmowers, or as I put it to my kids as they drive by, that are far in excess of the speed limit. I think if there was going to be any kind of consideration for an entrance off County Road 2, there would have to be something that involved traffic calming well before you reach where the hamlet of Grafton begins, maybe even east of the bridge that leads into Benlock Road, something of that nature, because I just don't see people respecting the drop to 60. It's more like a drop to 80. I see people flying through town well over the 50 speed limit. And in fact, I've even been verbally assaulted just trying to pull into my driveway, because as I turn right into my driveway on a hill, mind you, the cars that are behind me just don't want to slow down enough, and they will pull into the opposing lane blindly on a hill to pass me, and on several occasions curse at me for slowing down too much in what is now a 60 zone. So my tolerance for any increase of traffic or any entrance into the north part of that development, I strongly oppose. And I just want to make it known that for the people that don't live on County Road 2, as much of traffic is a burden for everybody, the burden on Old Danforth Road would be sporadic throughout the day, not a constant, whereas the traffic on County Road 2 would be a constant. So that's got to be part of the consideration.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Do we have any other people online who would like to speak?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Grit Cole. I live at 104 Bowman Court South. Our main entrance and exit out is either, we have two, is either through Old Danforth Road to the east or Old Danforth Road to Brimley to the west. So that intersection has always been a problem. And getting out of there, the sight lines are very bad. So increasing all of this, adding in the construction for trucks is very concerning for me as a resident because there doesn't need to be something there before any of this starts. It can't happen after a tragedy happens. So that planning for me is essential, that it needs to be there in the forefront. Now, I want to go to the map that of the subdivision, the plan of subdivision that was included in the PowerPoint. And the submission one did have an second exit entrance at the east end, which I presumed would have gone out to Benlock Road. Now, I'm assuming in submission number 2, that must have been dropped because it's not included on submission 3. It's to the east of the development. Are you with me on that one? Because the first submission shows a cul-de-sac for the entrance, proposed entrance from Highway 2. In the third submission, it doesn't show the cul-de-sac the same as it did. It's got some sort of an adjustment. So I don't know how that was removed because I don't think it was ever there. The entrance way to me that was removed was that street running out, which I presume to Benlock. So if that street out to Benlock was still going ahead, which doesn't look like it, and yet they've provided for stormwater management for potential expansion of the boundary of the hamlet of Grafton to the east. There's also one on the books to expand to the west as well, but just dealing with this one, if the developer is already planning for stormwater management because the plan, it's assumed that that's going to be approved. It hasn't even come to council for approval. Why wouldn't that roadway be put in? Because that just is logical. And it does provide for that second entrance and exit that is desperately needed in a subdivision of this size. So I'm right with the residents on the concern about there just being one entrance in. The next question or the next concern is why was that entrance into the subdivision moved further south? Because where it was in that original location, residents that will be across from that roadway would not have had to, excuse me, would not have had to deal with the traffic lights, or not the traffic lights, the car lights that will shine directly into their properties whenever ever a car is going out of that roadway. So that was a question as to why it was moved further south, because it made more sense up at the other end, although it is closer to the school, yes. The other thing I have, big concern, is you stopped kind of at hydrological assessment, but further down there's the flood hazard assessment. Has the floodplains mapping been completed by the province yet? And what was the result of the flood hazard assessment for this subdivision? Because that leads me to the fact that there are storm water management ponds is because it's a low-lying area, just like the Stallwood Homes to the south of where we are. Will they have to have sump pumps in their basements? Because I can tell you that that is a problem for even houses that are down here on St. Andrews. There have been flooded basements, and you have no idea what it's like to have sewage flooding your basement because of power outages that lasted 5 days here. And now we just had another one, and sump pumps, unless you've got a backup generator. So are the developers proposing to put in backup generators for these homes? Because it's becoming a very big reality going forward. So there needs to be a lot of thought about how this is done. Now, let's see, did I get all my questions yet? Yeah, sump pumps, lights. Okay. Yeah, I think that's where I'm going with what I'm, oh, no, one more. And this is exactly opposite to what we've all been talking about in the first place. But if we are going to be doing development in the hamlet, why have we not considered building duplexes to provide more accessible housing? Because in Grafton, period, homes are expensive. Doesn't matter where you go. And by putting duplexes with the newer septic systems that are available, it is very logical and possible. But again, that just adds to the burden of the traffic and all the rest of it in our small hamlet, which is exactly why most of us moved here, and we've been here 22 years now. So, yeah, we're concerned about the increase of traffic that's already existing. So those are a lot of concerns I have, and I just greatly appreciate all the comments that the residents have brought forward. Very thoughtful and well done. Thank you. I would like a couple answers about the sump pumps, though.
Thank you. I'm not sure which questions Mr. Yearwood can answer directly and which ones will perhaps just be taken as comments for future answers, but I'll turn it over to you, Ashley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I can say I'm trying to think about where do I start. But you have to remind me as well too, Grid, just in case for something I might miss. So I think regarding, I know the Conservation Authority, they're still doing their review in terms of like any sort of floodplain analysis. So once again, we've just submitted some updated materials over the past few weeks. So they still have to do their review. So we're still waiting to hear back from that. In terms of the road, I think the road to the south, I think that got shifted a little bit easterly, and that was just kind of really due to just additional information that we've found over time as part of these studies. And what I should also probably say is that the intent for this development is to have it phased from the south to the north. So it would be like the first, I can't remember how many lots, but like about maybe the 20 or so that are on the south side by Old Danforth Road, that's intended to be phased, be the first phase of development, and then they have to build a bridge over it then to get up to the second phase. So there's that component. In terms of, I think there was like turning, what do you call it? Some turning circles, as you know, there were some turning circles that are on the east side there. They're right now intend to be in place for permanency. But however, I know to the southern portion, the southeastern part of the site, there is some talks, I guess, or some proposals in place, which is on a more of a larger scale with the, I guess as part of the county official plan looking to for the Grafton expansion. So this development does kind of protect for that in the event that lands to the southeast do get developed in the distant future. And there was something I wanted to talk about that as well too. Now that's kind of alluding to me. I think, yeah, pretty much through you, Madam Chair. Great. Was there anything else I think I was missing?
Well, yeah, now you're talking about a bridge over that one area. Boy, that raises another huge thing because that means that this development is going to be done in phases. And every development in this subdivision has taken years. Like I know our development where we live had 55 homes in it, and it took 25 years for the final, or 26 years for the final lot to be sold. Now, I don't expect that this subdivision will be built that way, except that that's how Fidelity has been building their homes in Colborne. So will this be done by the houses will be built as they're sold, as people put deposits on it? Is that how it's going to be done?
For you, Madam Chair, it's really, that's ultimately up to the developer in terms of how they want to, I guess, really market their product. Typically, it's not uncommon to have subdivisions of this nature to be phased over time. So it could be done in like 1 or 2 or 3 different phases. So ultimately, I think ultimately that's more of a marketing strategy, more so per se. But, for this purpose, yeah, it's looking like that, it's not going to be built out all at once. And then who knows, especially with the current time of tariffs and all that's been going on, as we all are aware of, it's not uncommon, basically.
Phase one is supposed to be completed by 2033, according to the traffic report I got last night. And 2038 for the balance of the development. That's what the traffic report was predicated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's something that, you know,
So
Sorry,
the only,
Mr. Yearwood, just a moment, Grit. Mr. Yearwood was going to address that, and I'll just remind the people in the audience, please don't just call out the audience.
Sorry.
yeah, so I mean, what I know with the development is that, yeah, it's phased that it could be supported, but yeah, there could be mitigation measures along the way that needs to be monitored. So, you know, as a result, this development being phased, which is a good thing for, I think it's more of a positive thing because then we could just assess and see how things go and if any adjustments need to be made to the, I guess you want to call it to the north phase. So that could look into traffic, that could look into hydrogeological, that sort of thing. So typically a phased development, a phased approach is typically is more positive than just going gangbusters and developing the entire site. So typically quite comfortable.
And Grit, did you have a final comment?
yes, Ashley, you did mention, thank you for your explanations. You did mention that there were some factors that went into that entranceway being moved further south or what you were calling east, but judging the directions, it's hard around here because things go in different ways. But I'm calling it south on Old Danforth Road, moving it further south. What were the actual factors that made it move down where it's going to be in front of all the homes instead of up where there's only a couple of homes? And the entranceway coming out wouldn't have impacted people living across the road by the car lights in the evenings and nighttime and starting at 5 in the winter. So I'm just wondering what were the factors that went into the movement of that.
For you, Madam Chair, to the grid, I'll be honest, since it's been a little while, I don't remember the exact factors. I can always we can always touch base as into like say the technical. It was a technical analysis that was done through the studies that resulted into I guess ultimately now we're into our third submission. But I don't remember the exact reasons for relocating that road further south, if you want to call it that. But we can definitely look into that like say soon for sure.
So how is the need for a second entrance going to be addressed in this subdivision? Because it's not. It's just being ignored.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, just Grit to answer your first question. I do have a response. It was a stormwater management pond. That's what caused the relocation of the road further south. Just wanted to make sure I put that out there. So that was a technical analysis that was required. And sorry, can you repeat the last question?
How is the second exit or entrance to this subdivision going to be addressed? It needs to have one. I mean, we can't just ignore that because if something happens at the first exit and entrance, then what? You got an emergency there, you got vehicles, everything plugging. What happens then? Everyone's stuck. There's no way in or out.
For you, Madam Chair, to Grit, there is actually there is a secondary entrance that would be a part of the second phase, just to the north, that would connect into the subdivision to the west. That's currently going on right now. For the 11 lot.
The 11
Yeah,
lots.
just that it will be the north, kind of generally the northwest portion.
Yeah, that's
corner.
right behind the church property and everything.
Yeah, and then that road would connect back into Old Danforth Road again.
Yeah.
So that road's going to go in anyways, then that was there even originally.
That's the northern, I guess, east-west road. When we move into the second phase, that would ultimately be constructed, and then that would connect into what is known as Street A in the west abutting subdivision for 11 lots.
Between 5 years for the second.
All right, thank you very
Where
much.
where will that one exit to? I'm not getting where it exits to.
Ultimately to Old Danforth Road. So both access points that we have on these submissions would exit onto Old Danforth Road. Just one of them's the one for the first phase is just to the south, on the south side. And then as part of the second phase, that would exit out through the subdivision to the west, back out onto Old Danforth Road.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have any other people online who would like to make a submission?
If there's anybody online who'd like to raise their hand, you can do so by selecting Control Y or Option Y if you're on a Mac.
Okay, council where Andrew McNamara would like to speak again. Are we okay with that? Okay, go ahead, Mr. McNamara.
Hi, thank you very much. I appreciate you hearing me out again. Just one last thing, and it's more of a clarification. It sounds to me like there's going to be multiple phases, and some of the phases will tie into other proposed subdivisions that are already further along in the approval process. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the second entrance goes, it's not that there won't be a second entrance, it's just in the initial plan for the drawing that's proposed in front of us, that second entrance potentially will be connecting to what will then be a pre-existing road of a different development. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so is it safe to assume then that the first phase of construction will be the phase furthest south on the drawing that directly abuts Old Danforth Road?
Yes.
And then the second phase will be further north of that across the wet area and like closer to the north part towards County Road 2. Is that correct?
Yes, lots of nods in the room.
Okay. I'm sorry. When I speak, my name comes up on my screen and I can't see anybody, so it's kind of blind. That said, what are the proposed timelines for the completion of phase 1 and the completion of phase 2? Is there anything out there yet?
Through you, Madam Chair, I am not aware of that at this point in time. You know, we can always get an idea from the developers, just to kind of find out, because typically it's kind of once again, a marketing strategy, because they may want to go in and they may want to go and start building now. But once again, there could be other unforeseen circumstances throughout the world, materials, tariffs, and all these different things that could delay those stages. So they may have, you know, plans and may even have, like, say, you know, I mean, say billboards saying that this is when you're looking at building, but it's really an internal marketing strategy.
One comment I'd like to make, and I've lived here in Grafton now for about 5 years, and I've learned a little bit about the town and quite enjoy it here. I came from a much more urban, dense area of Durham region. I lived in 2 new build subdivisions. One of them was a little over 900 houses. And I will say that the approach that appears to be taken by Fidelity here, where they build the houses as they get sold, is much more easy to deal with than when a developer comes in and does a mass site and puts in hundreds of houses at one time. Not just from a wear and tear on the roads and a noise standpoint, but also from the type of changes that happen in the town when you have that many trades workers coming in and out and working and for lack of a better term, disturbing what is going on. So if there's a one-off build here and there every time they sell a house, I've lived both ways. Much easier to deal with from a disruption of lifestyle standpoint than when a developer comes in and puts in 300 houses in one shot. I've lived through both. Not a big fan of the mass development type of thing. So I'm really hoping that when the developer chooses to do these phases, they take the utmost respect for the townspeople that are welcoming in the trades workers and whatnot to do the job.
Thank you. Do we have any other people online who would like to make a submission? Okay, it does not appear so. I believe I heard there's someone from the developers here. Would you like to add anything? If so, please move up next to Tracy.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Carolyn Ross. I'm representing Fidelity and RFA Planning. I think Ashley and Tracy have answered a lot of the questions. I think the primary concern and is the two entrances onto Old Danforth Road, and Ashley did point out that this development will connect into Hamlet Estates and provide that second entrance onto the Old Danforth Road. I don't know that I have anything extra. There were comments about upgrading Old Danforth Road and who's going to pay for that. Typically, that's something that's covered off in draft conditions of approval, and the developer would be involved in that. So again, a lot of the comments, I think once the draft conditions of approval are established by the county, a number of the concerns will be addressed in that. And that will come forward, I think, in potentially the fall, I believe, is the timing for that. In terms of timing for building, it's very market driven. When phase 1 and phase 2 will happen. And we still have the rezoning application ahead of us too. So that's another step before we can even start thinking about building.
Okay, thank you. I'm just thinking, we've got a number of people who would like to be kept abreast of these different stages. Is there a way they can be put on an email list or something so that they can receive information?
Is that something typically that the county?
Yeah, typically, the way how it works is, say with public meetings, typically if anyone want to be notified, well then, there's this form here. There's also the form as well too with myself, where my contact information is on the notices. I also think I should have a few cards there as well too, for like the personal card feel. So there's also that where I always would mention to any members of the public is that, just indicate you may have your concerns, but also still indicate just for the record that you would like to be notified about any sort of future decisions or any sort of advancements. I do that like just automatically, but just for the record, at least we have that. So anytime there's any emails being sent, even if it's just simply a very quick one, just saying I'd like to be notified, then we keep that as our record, and then we will apprise people throughout this process.
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right. This has been a very good listening activity, and I hope that as we go through this process, I do note that some of the concerns that were raised at the first one have been addressed in the future submissions. So I hope this process continues to address your concerns as we move forward, and then this turns out to be a great project. Okay, thank you. I'll turn it back over to our deputy mayor. All right, so I will step out of the chair, and Deputy Mayor Joan Stover will return to the chair.
Oh, all right. I thought, I don't remember leave that like that.
Fair. That's for a 5-year question.
Sure, so wait a sec, wait a minute, get on here.
Later, Ashley.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for.
Hi, guys.
Oh, you're over that side.
Thank you, Councillor O'Neill, for standing in. Was good discussion. I will now go on to 5.3 of the agenda. I need a motion to reconvene. That the July 15th public meeting be adjourned and that the committee of the whole reconvene at 10:56. Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Carried. Favor. We would like to call a 5-minute recess. Is that correct, Councillor Ainsworth?
Thank you.
Could I have a mover for that, please? Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? Thank you. We will be back at 11:01. Thanks so much. Say, Good. Moving on to 7.1, motion to receive committee reports. And that is 7.2 and 7.3. So we need a motion to approve the agenda item 7.2 and 7.3 on the July 15th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please get them on the floor? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Thanks, Councillor Ainsworth. Does anyone want to speak to any of these in particular? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Chair. Just a question for staff. I just wondered how we're doing with that MOU from the library. I know it was emailed out to us all. Are we going to digest that together or just from staff?
Through you, Madam Chair, the council. So I have had a preliminary conversation with the mayor, and I have asked the mayor to speak to all of council individually. And then from there, we will bring it forward to council for open debate or direction.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions to do with these agenda items? The only comment I will have is thank you, Madam Clerk, for reaching out to the board, library board, to have these minutes come forward starting from February 1st, 2024 to June 3rd, 2024. I do note that still missing are March 7th library board meeting minutes and April 15th library board minutes. As well, the other question I have, were they going to address their closed meeting minutes and the breaches that were there? Madam Clerk?
That'd be a question too.
Oh, okay, thank you. Would you be able to help in that matter, Councillor Booth?
Sure, I can address it with the CEO. I'm not quite sure. I think you were talking about when they go into closed and when they come out of closed.
Yes.
So I will address it with her, but we don't meet again, I don't think, until September.
Okay, thank you. So seeing no other questions coming forward, can I have a motion to we're good. All right. Okay, call a vote for approval of these. Thank you. All in favor? We will move on to agenda item number 8, development service reports. And this has to do with the 8.1, the building department, the Q2 mid-year activity report. And thank you for coming forward, and we'll have you go through the report for us. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you to Madam Chair and members of council. What I presented today was the Q2 mid-year activity report for the building department, which is up to and inclusive of end of June. Just two of the main things that did take place in Q2, we did get the final approvals to push forward with some computer software. We're in the basic final stages now of getting our contracts aligned. We'll be starting our kickoff meetings with the appropriate people in the next couple of weeks, and we're very excited about that. Along with that, in Q2, we were also able to, through previous approval by council, bring full-time staffing dedicated to support the building department. Lisa Coulters now holds the position of building administrative assistant, brings many years of municipal experience. Lisa is also very integral and will be part of the development of the software as she's familiar with this program as well. Going forward with that, I anticipate Q3 and into Q4 of the uploading and the implementation of the software with our goal in mind here is starting January 1, 2026. Will be fully integrated for both online submissions by the public as well as the in-house applications that still come in through the door. Going forward, looking at the numbers, and it was a little bit difficult. We had to do a bit of search to kind of break down the quarters from 24 and 25. But as you can see by the numbers here, at the end of Q2 and 24, we had 37 permits. At the end of Q2 and 25, we're up to 45. Permit construction value was approximately the same, it was within about $800. And overall construction value, again, was relatively the same as in 24. So these are good numbers. One thing that's not reflective here is the fact that a lot of the additional permits we're seeing in Q2 of 25 were bringing some of the older properties into compliance, getting some permits that were supposed to be lined up before, which we have done. So that will represent a fair increase in those, represents a fair increase in those numbers. I'm looking now at where we are with respect to single-family dwellings and dwelling units. We're up to 8 single-family dwellings, and with additional 2 dwelling units, these are the ones that are as of right additional residential units and so forth that are being built. So we have 2 of those that were in this Q2, bringing us a total to date of 10 new single-family dwelling units and 3 dwelling units themselves. With an increase in compliance, we see an increase in renovation and alteration permits, and a relatively quick jump from our winter. We had pretty much a non-existent spring right into summer, has accelerated early construction throughout the township. A total of 137 individual prescribed inspections took place over the 3-month period, and a total of 3 orders to comply and 2 stop work orders were issued in Q2 as well. Going forward, I am anticipating a slight upturn in permit applications for the remaining summer. A lot of people who go on summer vacation will do their decks, will do their garages, that type of thing. And we're hoping that we'll see these numbers reflected when we get around to doing Q3. Otherwise, it's been very busy out there. We see activity going on. I've been doing my best to traverse the landscape and find those ones that are kind of hidden in the woods, kind of say, that we don't see a lot of. I have had some success of other residents, inquiring as to whether permits are on certain properties, which is a great assistance for myself to get out there and go and determine. And I'm hoping that the message is getting out there that if you build without a permit, we will eventually, if the timing is right, we'll catch up and we'll get it all straightened out. We're working on a few of those right now as well. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Thank you, Don. Does any members of council have any questions? Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
More so a comment, so I'm pleased to hear that these actions are being taken. We want to have people in compliance. It is part and essential to us having a fair tax system within the municipality, so I appreciate that.
Thank you. The only comment I would have is speaking with different contractors out there. They're doing a lot of little things, not so many big things, but they're keeping busy, which is good. And once we get over this hump or bump, whatever, that you'll be busier in the fall and maybe going into 2026. Thank you.
And I hope that as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
Just something that popped into my head. We had members of the audience during the public meeting, just wondering who our building inspector was. So perhaps we could have some little introduction of you as a little, and your department as one of our little posts at some point.
We all do that.
Sure, I think it's a great way to get it out there. I think we could do is put together a small little verbiage, maybe for one of the next quarterly newsletters, introducing myself as well as our compliment to our building department, so people know they'll have someone come in and speak to.
Perfect, thank you.
That's a great idea. Thank you. It's gonna have a mover and a seconder for this report. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. Thank you, Councillor Neal. All in favor? That will be carried. We will now move on to our public works and infrastructure reports. Stefan, I'll turn this over to you. And take us through your report. It was very knowledgeable. I always learn things on roads as I go along.
So good morning,
Good morning.
Chair and Council. So I'll just go through a general overview of the report. It's just to keep everybody up to date on what's been going on with the road resurfacing project. So throughout the report, I just outlined what Public Works does to prepare these roadways ahead of the surface treatment program and to provide the roadways that we were able to complete with the applied budget this year. Most of our surface treatment has been completed for the year. I believe they finished their single surface treat program last week. So our roads have been capped. Our DST has been done. We're just in the process of picking up our signs. We're just letting with the float, that is the excess of granular material on the roadway. That's just slowly working its way off, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stefan. Anyone have any questions for our road superintendent? Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Just looking back at what you brought to us at budget, it included two other roads, Telephone Road between Hawthorne, Boyce, and Lakeport between Thomas and County Road 31 boundary. What's the status with those two?
So Telephone Road was not able to be completed this year, just with the budgetary restrictions. We did cut it out. As for the Lakeport, we began surface treatment approximately 500 to 600 meters east of Thomas Road, and that ended right at the County Road 31 boundary.
Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
So that cost would have been on another report then that was different than this one, but where are we in terms of the budget? There was 950,000, we've got 730 something here in front of us today. That leaves us about 220. You just told me how you spent a bit of that 220, but.
So I don't have the finalized numbers in front of me. I can definitely provide that to council. But we did reduce our granular quantities in some areas as well, just to stay within that 900 and in and around that $950,000 mark.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
And through your worship, just a comment, just to say how pleased I was. I drove along Clouston Road in Boomerang the other day, and is it Miller Paving that's doing it, or who's? Yeah. And they were doing an excellent job in that road. Both those roads now are 100% better. They're actually drivable. So thank you.
And I suppose you're working on your list for next year's ask to see what roads you're going to be attacking or rebuilding.
Yes, that's on my lengthy to-do list here. So I'll begin working with staff and beginning to formulate a list of the roads that we'll be looking to perform some work to next year, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Councillor
Lady
Ainsworth.
there. Just a question to Steph. I see we have a program going on now, trimming the grass back on the side of the road. Do we have any thing coming down the chute about some of these trees from the last ice storm that are still hanging half over some of the roads? Some of them are still hanging out in lines of sight, stuff like that. Is there any way that that can all be looked after also?
Through your chair. So we've been primarily dealing with the trees just based on a complaint process. So as we get them, our staff will go out and check them. If we have any specific locations, just feel free to contact our public works and just notify us, and we can get out there and take a look at them. I will just state there might be some caveats. So if they are on a bell line or some sort of a telecom line, we typically will contact the company that's responsible for them. We don't really touch them. And then another factor to consider is typically proximity within hydro line. So those are just two considerations to take in.
Okay, thanks.
Stefan, one of the questions that has just come to mind, are you monitoring the unassumed roads at all? Or I shouldn't say unassumed roads, seasonal roads? Or if someone does have an issue with a tree kind of on the slant, maybe gonna fall on the road, is anybody monitoring those roads at all?
Specifically like a seasonal road. So
Yeah. I'm thinking east of Telephone Road.
Okay, so they would, under the minimum maintenance standards, they wouldn't be required for an inspection. So they don't require a patroller to go out and check these areas. That's typically why they're a seasonal or classified in those regards. Once again, it's just more complaint-driven process. And with the department, we typically try to address tree complaints and whatnot unassumed in roadways where motorists are going to be traveling just because of that the consistent traveling over it. But once again, if we can take a look at these unopened road allowances and whatnot there, or if there's issues in regards to, trees that are on them, we will look at them. Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
Just a follow-up to your question. Once it's a seasonal road, but I live on Gleason's Corners North. I'm on a road, right? But Gleason's Corners South, lots of days has more traffic than my little crossroad. And yet it's a seasonal road and does in fact have some branches that look a little precarious along there. So, I mean, doesn't that put us as a municipality in an area of responsibility if we know people are using them at these levels to do a higher level? Than it's different if it's just an occasional use by a tractor accessing a field versus daily several vehicles using it.
So through you, Madam Chair. So that's why we typically will have posted signage outside of them. I totally understand the sentiment of people using these roadways, and especially locals and whatnot will use these as cut throughs and whatnot. But primarily if the signage is there, the motorist is informed and they understand sort of the I guess, I don't want to say, I guess just the possible precarious nature of those roadways because they're not held up to, a class 5 or class 4 or class 3 roadway.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other questions or comments, I'd like to make a motion, or I'd like to move that it's recommended that the Committee of the Whole receives report PW 2025-10, 2025 for the roads resurfacing and surface treatment program for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll move on to administration reports and we'll move on to 12.1. The 2024-2026 strategic plan. This is the 2025 mid-year progress report. And would you like to take us through that, Madam Clerk? Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair. I'm very excited. I'd like to first start by saying thank you to our senior team. They put a lot of time and effort into helping to develop this report by pulling together all the different projects, their highlights, their wins, and different items that they're very proud that they've accomplished in such a short period of time. So the strategic plan was passed by council back in October of 24. And from there, staff have been working diligently to implement that on behalf of council. So it's taking a look at our new mission, our new vision. We have 5 new strategic priorities, which include good governance, customer service, Team AH, infrastructure and assets, and communication. We've also adopted 6 new 6 new values, and all of these things combined help with the decision-making that staff make on the day-to-day in terms of which projects they are trying to implement to help support council's vision for the next 2 years of council for the remainder of the term. So the mid-year report was identified in the strategic plan as part of our ongoing commitment to the plan, but also to act as a communications tool to let everybody know that we are working towards it, we're actively adopting it, and we're essentially putting our money where our mouth is. So we're holding true to what we said we're going to do. So the report in and of itself is meant to be that 1,000-foot that high-level overview for council, just to show staff's movement in the process. Again, we've highlighted some key wins, as well as some issues. There's a couple projects, I believe that are 3, that are currently set for on hold, scheduled for completion in 2025, but we provided reasonings for those. So overall, the strategic plan identifies 39 goals, of which to date we've got 30 in process, 5 are complete, and 4 are on hold, whether that's because they on hold, whether because they're not started or because they're not due to be completed until 2026. So we just haven't moved them forward in terms of the work plan. Of the 5 goals that have been completed in their entirety, we're looking at GO3. So good, there's 2 under good governance, 2 under customer service, and 1 under team Alnwick Haldeman. While these goals have been declared as complete, staff are still committed to making sure that we do continuous process improvement and continually review them to see if we can refine them and make them better as we progress year over year. In terms of the 2024-2025 goals that are identified within the plan, there's 20 of them that are scheduled for completion by the end of 2025. Of those, we have 5 are complete and 11 are in process. There's 3 goals that are currently on hold or have not been started in their entirety, and these include the development and implementation of an accessibility plan, the development and implementation of a recruitment, retention, and succession plan, as well as the implementation of a human resources information system. Reason for these have been staffing constraints. Excuse me. And our accessibility plan is actually scheduled to begin in August of 25, so we're not anticipating that going too far into 2026, if at all. The remaining 2, again, they haven't been started due to competing priorities, workflow management, and staffing and budgetary considerations. So that is something that staff are looking at as to whether or not we can start them in 25 or whether or not we need to push them entirely into 2026, just given our the issues that are factoring into it here. That's also not to say that there's been zero movement on them. There has been some very high-level communications, it's particularly with the HRIS and the recruitment and retention strategy. So our HR department has been having some conversations with neighboring municipalities about how we can strategize recruitment across the county. So even though the projects haven't been started in their entirety here at the township, there is some forward movement going on in the background. The mid-year report also identifies 201 supporting projects. So these are projects and tasks that staff have identified that feed into the overall completion of the strategic plan and support the plan's overall implementation. So these are sort of those smaller projects that feed into the completion of the larger goals to help us meet those end targets. So of these 201 projects, we have 98 have been deemed complete, 13 are on hold, and 90 we have currently in process. The projects range in size and scope, but also, again, they demonstrate staff's commitment to the plan as a whole. There's additional projects and initiatives underway at the township that also require staff attention, but don't necessarily fit within the strategic plan itself or support a specific goal, but are still vital to our work here at the township. So those aren't necessarily included in these 201. These are, again, just the high level ones that can be specifically dovetailed to a goal. Of all the all of those strategic priorities, so the good governance, Team AH, communications, customer service, and infrastructure and assets, of all of our strategic priorities, all of the priorities have activity. There's not one that's sitting idle. And to date, communication and good governance are the 2 strategic priorities that have the most activity in terms of projects being implemented by staff. just to provide again a high level overview here of some of the key highlights. So in terms of good governance projects, staff are happy to report that we have some standard operating procedures now in place for rental contracts, deposit and fee collections, to help reduce the amount of uncollected fees and liability to township. We have an online planning inquiry portal that's helping us track and manage inquiries. We've streamlined the budget process for 2025, as well as implemented advisory committee work plans. We've also revised fees and charges bylaw, and we've implemented some branded templates for social media releases, and public-facing documents to help with faster post and document creation, but also to get that consistent look and feel for anything outward-facing for the township. So starting to move towards our rebranding in the communications department and make it on first glance, when you see a Facebook post, you should be able to identify that it's AH. In terms of communication, some high-level projects we have on the go there. One of our big ones is increased utilization of Facebook for communications. So we've actually increased our Facebook views by 123% compared to 2024. And that's only at our 6-month mark. So we still have another 6 months to go. So we're anticipating much further growth year over year on that as well. In terms of the 2025 rental income, it's also trending to surpass the 2024 income due to increased advertising and promotion of facility and ice rentals, increased customer service support, and a streamlined booking process. And we are also happy to report that we have a preliminary review of the township's website underway to identify areas for improvement and ensure user friendliness, accessibility, accurate and timely information is available. Website features such as pop-up alerts, online payment functionality, and digital newsletter subscriptions are also currently under review. We're going to be sitting down and starting the formal project planning for this in October of 2025. Because there's a lot more involved as we move forward with that in terms of mapping and the information that we want to push out. For customer service, some key highlights include the implementation of the community risk assessment and completion of the community safety study. There's also a review of the traffic safety study for Grafton is being considered with new subdivision proposals. There's also the implementation of online registration and payment processes for recreational programs to facilitate ease of use and enhanced customer experience. We've also realigned special event permits, food truck permits, and water service connection permit processes from the clerk's department to fire and bylaw and public works to help streamline the application processes for users. Excuse me. There's also as Dawn spoke to earlier, we're currently in the development and implementation stage for the online building permit application and inspection services software, which again is really going to help streamline how we deliver services, whether it's inspections or submission of applications, plans review, and so on. So all of these are aimed to really enhance that customer feel and make things easier for customers to navigate as we go forward and modernize how we deliver services. And lastly, for customer service, we've also increased our offerings for recreational programs. So we have some new programs that we've rolled out, such as inline and roller skating, family paint days. We've also seen an increased number of sponsored free skates, as well as our Learn to Skate program, which was a huge hit that I'm told we could have probably run 5 times over based on the amount of interest that we received for it. So that's something I know Parks and Rec is looking at, whether or not they're going to offer that more in future for the year coming up. When we move into Team Alnwick Haldeman, some key projects here is collaboration with Grafton Minor Hockey Association and a private donor to secure about $85,000 worth of emergency repairs and maintenance to make sure that we have a successful 2024-2025 ice season, which I'm happy to report we did. So working together with the community, we were able to come together and make sure that ice season happened. We've also had the approval of the building administrative assistant, planning coordinator, and the planning student, as well as an upgrade to the existing customer service representative during this past year. And all of those are helping to deliver services effectively and efficiently, but also help take the strain off existing staff resources and being able to really start to push and move different projects forward that we wouldn't necessarily have had the staff resources to do before. So it's making for a very cohesive, very functional, very effective team atmosphere across the different departments. Cemetery administration is also in the process of being realigned from the fire department and finance department through to the clerk's department to provide a central point of contact for cemetery administration and operations. Again, helping to streamline customer service, financial controls, and regulatory reporting requirements, as well as our legislative compliance there. We've completed a high performance teams workshop with council and senior staff to help facilitate those strong council staff relations. As well as our Public Works Department has undergone additional training on Book 7, as well as snowplow operations, and health and safety has been completed to ensure safe, efficient, and effective operations as well for our team. And last but not least, our fifth strategic priority is infrastructure and assets. And under these, some key highlights include completion of the Centered and Sam Dome repairs, initiation of the water modeling study to ensure adequate resources to support continued growth and development in the Grafton area, collaboration with Northumberland County and third-party service providers for the installation of broadband infrastructure across the township, as well as the development and implementation of the fire apparatus and the Public Works vehicle and equipment replacement scheduling. So all of this is, again, helping to showcase and demonstrate staff and council's commitment to making sure that we have those foundations in place for a sustainable future when it comes to our infrastructure and assets. So again, that's the high-level overview of the 2025 mid-year strat plan progress report. So I'm happy to answer any questions council might have on this. One thing of note is that staff are committed to this, and we will continue to monitor these projects as we go. And provide updates again through the 2026 budget process. So now that we've had the first one in place, the first document in place, we're able to sort of adjust and massage this as and when we go. So as projects come on board or when projects are completed, we'll be updating the list of spreadsheets that you see before you and updating these numbers so that council has that continued reflection and a finger on the pulse, if you will, in terms of the implementation of your strategic.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There's so much information in here. I had to read it twice so I wouldn't miss anything. It's very easy to read. The flow is good. If I'm looking for a certain project, I can find it in there to see where it, what the process is, if it's complete on hold or put over to 2026. So it is a very good document to have just to access as we go along. So thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for everyone involved that worked on this. And I'd like to open it up to our counselors. Does anyone else have any comments to go forward? Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
I'm just picking up on two of the items that you flagged for us. And they both, I believe, will involve the county, but the one does for sure. The communications, are we still involved in that county committee? I know it was Jennifer Steen who was sitting on that committee, so I'm just wondering where that is. And then accessibility, you said it was starting in August. Can you just flesh out what will be involved in that one?
So through you, Madam Chair, yes, is the answer to your first question in terms of connecting with the county communications group. So staff still are involved in that. We haven't met in quite some time just due to different competing priorities across all the municipalities, but we do still keep in contact and fire questions, bounce things off one another as we need to. And your second question is the AODA, the accessibility plan for the township. So that's going to be scheduled to start in August of 25 when we have our new deputy clerk come on board. So that's something that we'll be taking a look at to make sure that we have our compliance piece, which is a plan in place for the township. So it'll be using the templates available from the province to make sure that we're looking at that, but that'll focus on all aspects of accessibility across the township, across all of our departments, whether it's facilities or communications and so on. So it will be an all hands on deck as we communicate with the different departments as well. We are hoping to do some community engagement and solicit the community for some input as to whether there's any improvements that they would like to see from an accessibility standpoint. We are below the minimum population threshold to have an accessibility committee, but that doesn't mean that we don't engage. So that's something that we'll be reaching out to and doing some surveys to see if we can get some more community input into the community would like to see in terms of accessibility in the township.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, just a small on that. I believe our most recent building assessments were from 2004, so that's 20 years ago. And I'm asking this sort of as a budget thinking piece, where do we have budget for that piece of the project?
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, in terms of implementation?
No, to do that assessment, because I believe we'd have to bring someone in from outside to do that piece.
So through you, Madam Chair, with the staff experience that we have on site, that is something that we can handle in-house. It doesn't require in-depth facility destruction or review. So we've got enough staff knowledge that we're able to, for the purposes of the accessibility plan, complete what we need to in-house.
Thank you. One more.
Sorry, the others are new things that I know we've talked about around this table before about that, because when I would raise housing things, you said, bring it back at strategic plan. So I'm back today saying we need to include something about, and most specifically, keeping our commitment that we've made as part of the Northumberland housing strategy. So adding that piece in, and I would also say we probably should add in something about getting, completing our asset management plan. I know we've talked about that, but it's not specifically identified in our strat plan either.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would these be, these two items, the assessment, plan, the housing, would that continue on to the next, like the this is going on for the 2025, 2026. As far as housing goes, it's not in this particular document, but would that be something that would move on to the next strategic plan? 2020, the next council would take that up. Is that how that would go forward?
So through you, Madam Chair, for the housing commitment piece of it, even though it's not identified as a specific plan, council didn't select and identify it as a specific priority in the strat plan. That doesn't mean that we don't do it. So it's still been identified as by council as a priority because we've obviously made a commitment. The components of it can get incorporated into the official plan review in terms of our commitments to the, again, affordable housing, different housing options, housing stock. So I know our planning team is taking a look at that as part of the official plan review. So even though it's not identified as a specific targeted goal within the strat plan, it does feed into being those supporting projects to help implement the overall piece of the plan. So we'd be looking at that specifically through the, I can't remember where it is here, the official plan review. It would be incorporated within that completion of that goal. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second one?
The asset management plan. Can I just comment briefly on that? We are in the middle of a housing crisis. We're in the middle of an affordability crisis. We've been here at council. We've had this come before us where the answer was we're going to do this in our official plan, but we've not updated our official plan. We are now entering our fourth year, our final year in council. If we're going to meet those commitments, we've got to be doing it this year, which I don't think the answer saying, well, we'll wait till something happens down the road is really isn't responding to the crisis that is in front of us.
Madam Clerk, do we have a timeline for the official plan? The update, could we could we put Tracy up here for that? Here she comes. Thank you. I know we're catching you off guard there. If you don't have it, we can certainly get the information later. I know it's probably something you've been working on, the official plan update.
Thank you through the chair. We have been working on a terms of reference. We'll need to retain a consultant to complete the official plan review as it's an extensive project that we don't have the time afforded to us in our department to handle on our own, which is why through multiple years budgets, there's been money squirreled away each time to accommodate that review. It is reliant on completion of work through the county, as official plans need to conform with upper tier plans. So I think they're at a point where it's wrapping up. So it's timely to get the terms of reference prepared and get a consultant working on it. I know from experience with other municipalities, official plan updates are not something that is done within a month or two. It involves a lot of public consultation and thoughtful work to make sure that plan is in conformity with the ever-changing provincial regulations and policies, and as well as the upper tier policies. So that is work that will be coming. We'll need to get quotes to find out what the timelines are. We'll have to put details as to what we want them to look at in terms of an update. And I think it would be practical to not just look at the official plan, but to update the zoning bylaw. The zoning is an implementation tool of the official plan. So if you have the policies sitting there implemented, but you don't have the regulatory framework, you can't see the fruition of those policy objectives. So that's another aspect that we need to think about and get going on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
In short, you're on it.
Yes,
Thank you.
among other things.
Among other things.
Many things.
Thank you for,
Thank you.
thank you, Tracy, for coming on board for that. See, anyone else have any other comments? Okay, I will move. It is recommended that the Committee of the Whole receive report CLK 2025-15, 2024-2026 strategic plan for the 2025 mid-year progress report for information. Can I have a movement in a second? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor?
Sorry, Chair. I'd like to bring an amendment to the floor that we add into our strategic plan. I know I've just listened to this happening, so putting it there when we know it's already happening is probably a good fit, but that we address the housing piece, specifically our commitment to the Northumberland housing strategy, and that we complete our asset management plan by year end. Well, I guess we don't need a date on it. That's another step, but that we get that done.
As I understand it, the asset management plan is in progress. Do we have a date for the completion of that? Is that your, is that your department, Dave, for that?
Yeah, through you, Madam
Thank
Chair, the update is it's hopeful that it will be completed by the end of this month.
Oh, okay, thank you. So do you still want the asset management?
I would like both of them explicitly said. I think those are super high priority items for us as a council. The infrastructure deficit is huge and we've got to make a plan. That's got to be a high priority for us. It's where our money, figuring out the money for the asset management plan is our huge. So yes, I would like to see it stay.
Thank you. It appears that we'll be ready for our September meeting. So do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Booth seconded that. All in favor? Carried.
A motion to approve.
So I will now ask for a motion to approve the amended motion. Thank you, Councillor Booth. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? Carried. Good to go. Yeah, all right. Thank you. So now we'll move on to agenda item 12.2. And these are notices of motions, and it's been submitted by Councillor O'Neill. It has to do with remuneration for committees. Go ahead and read this first, or have a discussion first. Okay, I'll read it to get it on the floor. Whereas bylaw number 06/2025 permits remuneration in the amount of $84.93 for attendance at one committee board meeting, or I put that in there. And whereas the committee for which Councillor Mary Catherine O'Neill can claim remuneration is the Heritage on McCalderman Advisory Committee, which has not held a meeting since April 16th, 2024 due to lack of members. And whereas Councillor Mary Catherine O'Neill is also appointed council representative to the Intermunicipal Task Force on Housing and Homelessness. Now, therefore, it is recommended that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alma-Calderman enacts as follows. That section 5 of bylaw number 06/2025 be amended to remove Heritage Alma-Calderman and History of Heritage Cemeteries, and to add intermunicipal task force on housing and homelessness, and this be in effect retroactive to May 1st, 2024, and that Councillor O'Neill receive remuneration for attending the intervening meetings. Could I have a mover to and a seconder to get this on the floor, please? Thank you, Councillor Booth. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. Do we have any comments? Moving forward, go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Chair. So I guess my first comment is why, could we change the terms of reference for the Heritage Committee? I know we have 3 people that are on the committee, make it 3 to 5 for argument's sake, and just carry on with that committee. That would be my first concern. And second is, can we legally do this? Delete one because the Heritage is a council of committee. A committee of council. And I don't recall, and if someone can refresh my mind, it says that we passed a motion to have Mary Catherine sit on this task force for housing and homelessness. Did that happen? If you can refresh my memory. So those 3 would be concerns of mine.
Thank you. Would you be able to answer any of those questions, Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Chair. So in answer to 2 of the 3, the first is that yes, the Heritage terms of reference can be amended. Council has the ability to do that, to reduce it in order to make it fit the current appointed complement. So that is something that can be done just through a bylaw change, just through a basic amendment to the terms of reference. Second piece is council does have the authority to indicate which committees they would like to see their members receive remuneration for. So that is something that can be done as well. It just requires, again, it's a bylaw amendment that would have to be brought forward in order to shuffle things about as being suggested. The third piece I would need to look into in terms of whether or not a formal resolution was passed to appoint a task force, unless Councillor O'Neill can speak to that or anybody can recall.
It was officially done at a meeting. I'm not sure what meeting it was, but that was in fact done. I do want to point out that I sit on 4 committees, Councillor Ainsworth. I have attended every committee meeting for all of those 4 committees, with the exception of one where I was away. I was double booked. You all receive remuneration for being on one of your committees. I have not been able to make a claim for remuneration for any of those 4 committees for over a year now.
Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Well, I think to my first concern was why can't, okay, if you're gonna receive payment in retro for the committee, it should be for the Heritage Committee. Because if we can just change the terms of reference, that task force committee was put together by a couple of other counselors in our neighboring municipalities. It's not anything that was appointed by council, committee. So, the county's on it, yes, there's lots of people on it, yes, it's doing good work. 2 years down the road, it could be dissolved, so I don't think it should be a council of committee, a committee of council. I think we need to keep the heritage one there and change the terms of reference and move on with that one. And if Councillor O'Neill needs remuneration back, for that year, I'm okay with that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
Through you, your worship, I guess the concern is there was no heritage meetings after April, right? So there wouldn't be any remuneration then. And that's the whole point, that we're all entitled to attend one meeting, although a lot of us are on multiple committees, right? I guess what would have to happen is the next council would have to make sure when the new council starts that they'll have to look at it again, that if there is a heritage committee, then they might want to switch it back because there might not be the intermunicipal task force on housing and homelessness.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
A final comment. This will come back to us next year. It is an annual bylaw. I had been somewhat hopeful, as you said, that at some point we would have a heritage committee. We do not have a heritage committee. And I think that in recognition of the fact that it is something that all of members of council has access to except me, I would like to also have access to that. And in terms of some of the other committees, we know that the physician recruitment is not continuing forward. So putting it there and then it not being there seems ridiculous. If it's the recreation committee, how would you do that? Because you and I both sit on it, so that wouldn't really work. And then, as I say, I'm also on heritage, but we're not meeting. So this is the only one that is having regular meetings and works for this purpose.
Just a couple of questions. I do agree that it's only fair that everybody gets remuneration for committee. How many times does the housing committee meet?
I would say about 10 times in the year.
And so the ones that you're asking for are not the subcommittees, it would be for the main meetings?
Sorry, that is actually an interesting question. I'm not sure who has the answer to that because, in fact, for example, I just saw that you're going to be on the subcommittee for Lower Trent. Are we claiming for subcommittee meetings? I have never personally claimed for subcommittee meetings, but it's an interesting question.
Well, I guess for the housing committee, are there subcommittees for that? So what are you asking for?
Just a regular meeting.
Which meets once a month. Is there any reason why the Heritage Committee could not start meeting regularly? I ask you, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Madam Chair, it can meet. Right now, the terms of reference is showing that it's, I believe, 5 to 7 community members, and we only have 2 appointed, so it hasn't been meeting because we haven't hit that number in the terms of reference. But council, as I mentioned earlier, has the ability to reduce that. We have been trying to actively recruit for Heritage Committee, and we haven't been able to receive any new applications. So that is something that council might want to consider doing. And then you can at least have a functional Heritage Committee. By doing that, this committee is also a legislative requirement. So in the instance that we would need to, we could activate it as it currently stands without any changes. Should there be a pressing heritage matter that comes up, but it is something that is a legislative committee unless council wants to delegate that authority to staff. But at which time you'd be looking at implications to the workload for planning department or staff if we're to come internal as well.
Oh, okay,
So
thank you.
there's different considerations.
Yeah, the other thing is, it's a shame really, this wasn't brought forward sooner, so we could look at the retro aspect of this. I'm not sure, is this something that has been done before, Madam Clerk? As far as retro, for, remuneration? Or council, I guess there hasn't been any meetings, but for the heritage, but is this something that has been done before? I haven't seen it.
Through you, Madam Chair, I can't speak to past practice. I did clear it with our treasurer that there could be retroactive remuneration for 2025 meetings, but because we're now into the audit for 2024 and that year has been closed off, that wouldn't be appropriate at this time because we're too far into the next year. So it wouldn't be able to be attributed to the 24 financials at this point. Oh, so you'd be looking at January 1 forward.
For 2025, okay. Councillor Neil, would you look at starting in with the Heritage Committee for your paid committee? Seeing you were appointed to that committee?
It may be helpful to this discussion that this is not the first I've obviously attempted to submit for a different committee, and I had been hopeful that this would come forward as a housekeeping. I'm not pleased or comfortable that I'm essentially here begging to be paid for something that everyone else has been paid for. I don't think that's fair to me. And I think what I have proposed here is simply a recognition of what has happened. And this is how I was directed to bring it forward as a notice of motion. So it has come forward as a notice of motion.
I don't think there's any question that it's only fair.
But if
that the only sticking point we have is that the housing committee that you're on is not a committee of council.
Neither is the Ganaraska that or Lower Trent or the Police Services Board. So certainly we
Their
can
boards,
pay.
their boards, and I'm not sure the legalities of all that. I'm just wondering if we, with these questions and the legalities, if we shouldn't defer this till we have those questions. Is that something that we could do, or how we can get through this?
So through you, Madam Chair, as I previously stated, council has the authority to delegate how they want to see their members get remunerated. So this is within your jurisdiction to determine yay or nay as to whether or not the task force is eligible. So there's no more eligibility, there's no more legal requirements beyond that. This solely sits as a decision of council. You are correct in saying that all of the other boards that are provided for compensation are legislated boards, but our Parks and Rec isn't an accessibility committee. If we had one, and if we were required to have one, if we had one, again, it's council's discretion.
Okay, and so just one of the interesting comments that Councillor Neil brought up is that, and quite true, the Ganarask, the Lower Trent, they are not committee of councils, but they're legislated boards that we sit on. Is that correct? So essentially, they are run through the same process as a committee of council. But they're legislated that we have a council person sit on them. So it is a requirement. Whereas this isn't a requirement. So I would. So if we made, oh, go ahead.
Just through your worship, I think the clarification though is like Emily is saying is we decide which committee you get paid for. It might be a legislated requirement to have Trent and everything, but we could in our own bylaws say you don't get paid for that one, you get paid for whatever it is. So I only think it's fair for Mary Catherine that since last April, she's not been paid for any of them, for any meetings. And I think it should be retroactive, that it just means that the ones from May to December last year can't go on the 2024 budget, but they will go on the 2025 budget. And almost every year, I think council has money left over in their budget because none of us, I believe, always use up our $3,000 for the conferences and stuff like that. So it'll just be absorbed into that, I believe. But it's purely a housekeeping thing that we decide that she gets paid for it to be fair with everybody. And then, like you said, if the Heritage one starts up in September, then let's change the bylaw that it goes back to the Heritage. Or if this housing one disappears in September or October or whatever, then we go back and we change the bylaw.
Madam Clerk, so to do this, I'm just looking at logistics. We would have to have the bylaw changed to include the housing for, and I would be prepared for this term, and that would be up to the next council whether they would include it. Is that how we would legally put it in here, for lack of a better word?
That's correct.
So we'd have to change it, and it would be okay, all right. Does anyone do you have anything else, Councillor Ainsworth?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So, okay, so my question is, what do we do now with the Heritage Committee? So we're just gonna forget about it, let staff look after it, or are we going to try to canvas to get more committees on there and, like Councillor Booth said, you know, bring it back to life in 4th year?
Any ideas on, like, I mean, essentially it could be meeting. There's no reason it can't be meeting.
Yeah.
So we would just start.
And that'd be the other question. Can we do anything with Councillor O'Neill's remuneration? Because of the meetings that they haven't held the meetings. You know,
Well, I guess we could.
if that's not her fault that they haven't held the meetings, you know, maybe we all drop the ball now. Right?
Well, this is the first time I've seen this, so, I mean, it's coming forward now, so maybe what we need to do is,
I would be more happier if we, you know, resurrected the Heritage Committee and worked out the remuneration with Councillor O'Neill than putting this task force as the committee of council.
okay, so that would be your motion? Or amendment to this motion?
You know, yes, it could be, but you know, we'd have to change the terms of reference.
Right. So do you have a seconder for that? Oh,
No.
yeah, sorry. Oh.
So you have this motion as it was presented.
Okay,
So that's what we're doing. So Mike's making an argument for the opposite. So this would fail, then Mike can take the place.
okay, all right.
So based on the debate that's happening. The only event that would be the retroactive. Because we can't go into 24. That would be the one. So if everybody's agreeing that it keep heritage, then you would let this fail. And then just put in the terms of reference to essentially react.
Okay, all right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add? Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
For your worship, I just think this is the simplest way, Councillor Ainsworth, is what we're saying is this motion has nothing to do with getting rid of the Heritage Committee or whatever. It's just saying that instead of being paid for the Heritage Committee, this person will now be paid for the homeless list one. So if the Heritage Committee starts up in September, Mary Catherine, who's a member of it, will still attend it, but won't be able to claim that one. And then next council that starts, usually the mayor picks, as he did before, or he or she, whoever it is, has the authority that usually picks who's going to sit on what committee, and then they make a bylaw saying that these are the 4 committees that everybody will be paid with. So it can be changed at that time if there's no heritage or if there's no homelessness or anything. So this is a fairly simple housekeeping thing just to solve it for now, right? And it could change at any time.
So it'd be your hope and my hope as well that the Heritage Committee starts meeting again in September. So looking at this, first, the only The only thing is that the retroactive part of it would need to be taken out of this. And amended to January 1, 2025.
Through you, your worship. Two things, I guess. Number one, this is a notice of motion, so we cannot just change it to amend it.
No.
It has to either go the way it is or it's turned down. Number two, I don't think that's fair. That we're saying that if she attended meetings last May to January, whether it be 5 or 6 meetings, that it's not retroactive. In our motion, we can make it retroactive. It just has to come out of 2025's budget. It can't come out of 2024. That's closed. There's money in our account right now. So if we have to pay her for 4 or 5 meetings from last year, then it comes out of this year's budget. And if there's an overrun at the end of the year, then staff will have to come to us to say that we're over by a few $100s because of meetings that were paid in 2024. But I don't believe we have the authority to change a notice of motion when it's like this.
Well, that would be, how to do that? That would get turned down. And I totally agree. I totally agree with it. It's just logistically trying to get this through. And the other thing is the time that it's coming forward and and you did address that we're looking at, here we are June 25, and now we're dealing with things from May 2024. So that just makes it a little bit more interesting. So number one, go ahead.
As a matter of procedure, so the notice of motion came forward at the July 8th meeting, which was just exactly that, the notice. At this point, the motion on the floor is treated as any other motion, so it can be amended and altered as council sees fit. This is your opportunity to make those changes now as to which way you want to go with it. And then it'll get brought forward to the September council meeting for final approval alongside the rest of the recommendations of the committee.
Okay.
So you can do what you will with this at this point.
Okay, so number one would be, as it is read, so if you cross that off, it's me. And how many meetings would that have been for 2024, Councilor Neal? Are you aware of those?
I can find
Did you meet in the summer?
we did. I believe I put in 9, but that was including some from this year.
Would that be 6, maybe? Maybe you could just provide the list of the meetings that you attended.
Yes, so there were 8 meetings last year from May through, so we did meet each month there, and then we have also been meeting this year as well.
And
Again,
how many for this year?
I sent this in March, so there've been 3, but I would assume there's 3 more since then.
Okay. So essentially 8 from last year and 6 for this year.
Correct.
So do we have you moved it and seconded it? Oh, go ahead, Councilor Ainsworth.
Another question. So if we're going to accept this motion, so if this committee is going to be a committee of council, are we going to get proper minutes? Are they going to follow proper procedure? You know, do we have to do anything with our procurement bylaw? Are we going to see previous minutes? That kind of stuff.
Go ahead, Councilor Neal.
Okay, Councillor Ainsworth, I want to ask you exactly what you're hoping to accomplish. If your desire is to have a heritage committee, then that needs to come forward and have a heritage committee. If your desire is to receive minutes from this has nothing to do with the motion that is in front of us. The motion that is in front of us is whether or not I am allowed to do what you are allowed to do and get remuneration.
Well, if I can answer that, I would sooner see you stay with the Heritage Committee, and I would sooner see you pay for meetings that we didn't have, that was not your control. And stay with the Heritage Committee. Then start this new committee up, that's just gonna kind of start another ball of wax. So,
Well, the other thing with
and this committee is a volunteer committee, that's what it started as.
So I guess the other additive we could put on this, till the end of 2026 or to the completion of this, because you could be in the same ball game again, where you say, well, now that committee is done.
Correct.
So could we include that in this motion? Oh, boy, we can't.
No.
All right. Councillor Ainsworth does bring up a good point that it would be helpful to have the minutes come forward. I think that committee, would they have their own terms of reference and everything, Councillor Neal?
Yes, they
Yeah,
do,
they
and
do.
those terms of reference were approved by this council and
Sure.
all of the member municipality councils.
And so would you be prepared to forward the minutes to us?
Correct.
Would they go formally through here, or they would? Oh, okay, would you be prepared to do that?
So just to clarify, because it's a task force, the structure of the minutes, because there are no actual motions passed or
Right.
anything else, is notes rather. So
Sure.
it would be forwarding meeting notes. I know that at times when I felt they were relevant to our municipality, I brought those notes forward. But if you'd like the notes in their entirety, I can get that
Well,
together for you.
I think it just
But I
gives us a
also-
flavor of what is going on there.
I also think that we're getting way off. The thing is, can I submit for one of the committees for
It is-
remuneration?
In a way, it is coming back forward because of it not being a committee of council, that we are just apprised of what is happening at that. It's just merely for information. I'm still kind of stuck on the retroactive part of it. Would there be a caveat in here on how it would get paid out because those books are finished? Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Through your worship, just the comment, Mike, that you made about you'd rather the heritage thing and pay her for, well, that's kind of impossible because we don't know, we didn't have any heritage meetings after April. So then you'd be actually paying her for meetings that never happened.
I can't do that.
No.
No, but to me, that's worse. At least if you're showing that she attended a meeting, because what are we to say? 4 or 5 meetings that should have happened, and then the public would say you're paying somebody for a meeting that never existed. But if we go this way, it's like she did attend these meetings. Yes, we are now going to include that as a committee that gets paid for. That's all. I'd rather go that way because you did physically attend a meeting.
And there was work reading minutes.
And there's
or whatever.
minutes and everything to show for it, right? Then go the other way. I understand what you're trying to do, but to me, I think it just causes more problems to say, people are gonna say, so what are you claiming for September, October, December? You didn't even go, to any of those meetings. So this way, it's fairly simple. Show us the 2024 meetings and the ones for 2025, and we pay them. That's it.
Well, and that gets back to the point of, how will the 2024 get paid, Madam Clerk?
So through you, Madam Chair, I have reached out to our treasurer and she's confirmed that if council decides that it be retroactive back to May 1st of 24, that invoice essentially, for lack of a better term, can be paid. However, it will be a hit to the 2025 budget. Yeah.
And could it go through the 3,000 that we're allowed for training?
It would be allocated to wages, not the training budget, because that's a separate item into its own. So it would be allocated to the council remuneration.
And it could possibly be there sitting waiting because we haven't tapped into it, right?
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's revenue neutral, whether I get paid from 2024 or 2025, it's the same amount paid.
Okay, so, any other comments on this? All right, are we ready to make the recommendation that Councillor O'Neill receive remuneration for attendance at the intervening meetings? And that is for the task force. And do we need to do anything more on this?
So you've had all of them. So just read it from the other recommendations.
Okay, so that's section 5 of the bylaw number 06-2025 be amended to remove. I remove heritage Alma Coleman and history of heritage cemeteries, and to add remuneration task force of housing and homelessness. And that this be in effect retroactive to May 2024, that Councillor O'Neill receive remuneration for attendance at the intervening meetings. All in favor? Passed. Now we're going to move on to 12.3. A notice of motion, official plan amendment, secondary plan for Hamlet of Grafton submitted by Councillor MC O'Neill. It is recommended that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alma Coleman enacts as follows: that an amendment be made to the Township of Alma Coleman's official plan to include a new secondary plan for the Hamlet of Grafton to envision the next 30 years, and that staff prepare a proposal call for planning work to gather public and agency input and prepare a suitable amendment, and that this project be be funded from reserves. Can I have a mover and a seconder to get this on the floor, please? Thank you, Councillor Neal. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. I'll open it up for discussion. Do you want to go ahead, Councillor Neal?
Sure. This flowed from some discussions I was having with people who are wanting to develop within the main core, but it also is flowing very much from my experience as a counselor. And we certainly heard that this morning, the need to coordinate all of the pieces that we have. So we have just wrapped up our second development within the hamlet in the last 25 years. And in the coming 25 years, we already know there's 4 more for sure in the hamlet. The question of whether or not there will be any others adjacent to the borders of the hamlet is one that, as Ashley Yearwood referenced this morning, is in discussion. It has huge implications for walking safety, biking safety, pedestrian safety. We have some excellent trail pieces, excellent sidewalk pieces, but they are right now just that, pieces. They're not connected and interconnected. And that's essential for it being safe and desirable community. We talk about needing some support and some goals for our economic development. We've certainly had extensive discussions about what opportunities there might be for gentle intensity within this hamlet. When we're looking at all of those pieces that are underway, and the last thing, if we look at what happened in the development over the last 25 years, the age of people within the hamlet got older, which is a problem. If all the people we are getting into our hamlet are retirees, but we have 2 schools right there in the hamlet. So we need to be doing things that make this a very desirable community for young families. They are the backbone, they are the future. So we need to look at all of these things. Now, I will, the planner can certainly speak much more to the logistics of making this happen. But my thought is that whether or not we go through with the official plan in 6 months or in a year, whenever all the pieces fall into place, this is a piece that could stand on its own, but is going to be desirable for our official plan. There would be no need to do it twice. So if we do it now, then it could just become part of the official plan when it moves forward.
Thank you. Councillor Ainsworth, did you have any thoughts on this?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Chair. So a couple of things. So first of all, although I do think we need to do this, but it needs to be much broader. I don't know why we're just kind of focusing on the hamlet of Grafton. You know, we have Rosemead, we have Bucklow, we have Lakeport, we never talk about. So that whole area needs to be encompassed, and I think this is just much bigger than just what this motion is asking for. And, you know, I don't like the fact that we're leaving reserves on an open end. You know, this could cost $200,000. Right? To do this report and put this project together. So, whether we need to have a cap on it or this whole thing just needs to be deferred and maybe put together better as a project, and how it's going to be funded and how it's going to branch out to the other, you know, communities and hamlets that we have throughout the township. So I just don't want to see a focus on the hamlet of Grafton. If we're going to do this for the next 30 years, our township is much bigger than the town of Grafton. So there would be a couple of my concerns, although I think it's a great idea that we do this. It just needs more work done on it before we commit to this motion.
Thank you. Counselor Booth, did you have any questions or any comments?
No, I'm gonna listen to everybody.
Did you have,
I do.
go ahead, thank you.
Through you, the chair and council. So during our public meeting this morning, we listened to several residents indicate several of their concerns that putting together a secondary plan, I think could possibly assist with identifying some of that. Definitely there needs to be a conversation between developers with the township. There needs to be some vision as to where this is all headed. We need to understand what provincial policy is going to potentially could change again. I've had several conversations with Tracy about this very topic. And really it's for me, it's a lot about connecting the dots. So for Grafton specifically, we've gone forward with a water model study. We know that we need to do a master plan, which is in the budget to go to market this year for. Those are things that definitely drive the significant impact of growth. And also we have had a few requests to look at sanitary opportunities as well. So reflecting what Councilor Ainsworth is saying with respect to the other communities within the township, I think that it's definitely within council's purview to consider all of that, because something does need to be considered. Not to mention that, as identified earlier on in this meeting, I do believe that we're facing some significant financial difficulties within our world, within our immediate surroundings. We're seeing a significant amount of real estate places being listed. We really have no idea where things are going, but what we can do is we can plan and we can put some effort towards that. So understanding about wanting to cap things, I think it would be interesting for staff to look at it as part of the 26 budget and or other budgets in the future. And certainly our planner has a world of knowledge with this and might want to comment.
Thank you. Come forward, Tracy. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, through the chair. I have had some experience working with secondary plans in another municipality, and typically they follow completion of an overall plan for the municipality because there can be relationships between the policies. So when we're working with an overall plan that was completed in 2015, which we know needs to be updated, the work of the secondary plan would be building on something that might be a little updated and should be looked at as a whole, so that the relationship between the policy documents are complete. And the secondary plans that I have experience with, we're looking at significant amount of population influxes into a community which was more urbanized, because Grafton is expected to grow, but modestly compared to some of the urban environments. I think it would be appropriate when putting together terms of reference for the overall official plan to have language in that document to leave it open to the ability to incorporate a secondary plan if it fits with the flow of the overall overarching policies of the new official plan, or perhaps it can be looked at through different sections within the master document. So there's multiple ways that it could be accomplished, not necessarily needing an official plan, but looking at all of those hamlet areas, and how do they fit and where should population growth happen within the community. So there's different ways to approach it. And I think it's because we're going to be preparing this terms of reference. It's something that we can think about as we are crafting that document. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Neal.
I do respect that piece of it. But I am definitely hearing, as our CAO has mentioned, that he is hearing, there is a significant desire within people who want to make advancements within the hamlet to get things underway now. In an ideal world, we would already have a new updated official plan. Ideally, it would have been done 2 years ago, but because of the pieces and pressures of changing documents of the levels of government above us, we have been sitting here on hold. And this is a unique opportunity. We have one developer right in the heart of Grafton who would like to see some really creative things happen, that this just isn't a bedroom for retirees, but rather this is a growing, vibrant hamlet. I do appreciate both of your comments in terms of how do the pieces fit together, because obviously this is a piece of an official plan one way or another. It's when and how we move forward with some of these pieces. But yeah, I would personally like to see this piece move forward, even though it's not the normal order of operations. But even if we look at the existing 2015 official plan, there's a lot of things in, for example, like communal services that are referenced in the existing official plan that we want to be looking at here. And to make this a very specific document, we're paying for it one way or another. It's when and how we pay for this. We have put money into reserves for our update of our official plan. So this is an order of operations. I recognize that what I'm asking for is a different order than what we normally do, but I also think that we are at a unique moment in Grafton when there are 4 different developers actively working, plus all of these other infrastructure pieces that are necessary to tie together all of those projects.
Thank you. My comment on this would be to refer it back to our staff for a report. And it also needs a time frame from you, what I would be looking at when something like this could be completed. And listening to you, it's a component of what you're already working on. And I hate to put you on a time frame, but are you hoping mid 2026 to have a lot of this completed, or what would be the time frames for the next steps to bring this to complete it all?
So in terms of the terms of reference or
And the official plan, how much longer do you think that would take?
I think through the chair, to be able to answer that question, we need a response back from consultants first to see, how long they can pull that work together. In another municipality that I worked at, which was larger and had a very complex secondary plan components to it, took a number of years. So because this is a smaller municipality, I wouldn't expect that the overall update should take that long, but I would want to hear back from the consultants. So it would be my goal to get the terms of reference put together, hopefully for September or October, depending on other workloads. As you know, we constantly receive applications and I'm struggling to meet deadlines for report agendas. So I have to go back and write reports right now to get ready for the next agenda.
That was one thing I think we need to be mindful of, is our staffing levels and the amount of work that is coming through your office. So Okay, does anyone else have any other comments on this? Go ahead, Councilor Rainford.
One more comment is that, again, it was, like, to me, this is a very big project. And, you know, we're gonna put all our eggs in one basket when it comes to the Hamlet of Grafton. I'm not prepared to do that at this point without all the other conversations that we need to have with the rest of our municipality.
Okay,
So I would make a motion that we defer this until further, so we can do some further investigation and staff do some, what work they can do on it. And maybe bring this to a more of a fuller motion for the whole township.
so I guess, on this, then we would take a vote either to accept it or decline it.
So at this point, on procedure, I just stated the motion to refer.
Oh,
And staff agree. So this motion that meant until staff.
okay. Are you prepared to make that motion? That you defer this back to staff
Yes,
for information?
in a budget. Because I mean, leaving it open, funding it from reserves, but
Could you read the motion, Madam Clerk? The amendment?
So through you, Madam Chair, my understanding of Councillor Ainsworth's comments is it's a motion to refer the matter to staff for more information on process and budget requirements.
Will that do it?
Yep.
Could I get a seconder for that? I'll second that. Okay, we're ready to vote. Any other comments or debates? Go ahead, Councillor Booth.
Through your worship, so we're just gonna refer to staff. I'm interested, very interested in what you were saying, Councillor Ainsworth, about the budget type thing. So that it's not open-ended, that it costs us so much, so. Not that it's the best solution, but I think to refer it back to staff to get a little bit more information and then we can vote on it, I would agree to that then.
Okay, so all in favor of that? Thank you. So the next order of business is our adjournment. Thank you, Tracy. That's been very helpful. Motion to adjourn that the committee of the whole meeting held on July 15th, 2025 be adjourned at 12:35. I have a mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Ainsworth. Thank you, Councillor Booth. That is the completion of the meeting. All in favor?
thanks, Sadie.
Thank you.